Welcome to Cassette Beasts, a semi-open world adventure RPG that's all about catching strange and unique creatures while making friends and fighting God. When the game begins, you're thrust directly into the opening of Sword Art Online. After that, you get to make your character. I have to admit, this character creator isn't the most robust. I wish there were a few more outfit options, but hey, it gets the job done. This is the ideal male body. You may not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like. After you spend 15 hours debating what to name your character, you're once again thrown through cyberspace before finally washing up on a lonely beach shore. Oh God, please don't be Britain. As you wander around, you'll eventually find a small town, but just as we're about to enter, you're jumped by a strange little creature. Fuck, I guess we're in Australia then. That's much worse. Luckily, a girl spotted us getting attacked and rushes over to help. If only it were that easy to get women to talk to me in real life. This is Kaylee, and she is the second best character in the game. As my good friend Zach once said, Irish babe. My bad. Red-headed Irish babe.
Oh my God. I get it.
She hands us a cassette player? Thanks, but I prefer to pirate my music online. Then she asks what our aesthetic is. As you probably have realized, this is your starter choice. You have two options, spooky or sweet. Spooky will give you Bansheep, and sweet will give you Candevil. Unfortunately, there's no based option, so I went with sweet. Kaylee hands us the cassette tape of our choosing, and we do a magical girl transformation into... Oh God. Wait, I want to go back to the sheep. We'll talk more about combat in a second, but let me finish setting up the story first. After kickboxing the local wildlife, we're able to enter Harbor Town. Kaylee gives us a tour, and we learn that this island is called New Whirl, and it's definitely not on Earth. Oh, thank God, I don't think I would have survived on Vegemite. Everything and everyone that's trapped on New Whirl was pulled here from some other world, whether that's ours or one that's entirely different. No one is sure why, but no one has ever escaped, with some of the citizens being here their entire lives. They've set up base here in Harbor Town and a few other places, but the wildlife is pretty aggressive.
Ma, there's a weird fucking stray cat outside. It looks like Grandma, the fucking thing. Hey, get the fuck out of here. I don't even know if that's a fucking cat. Blink, motherfucker.
That's where the Rangers come in. The Rangers are dedicated to protecting the citizens from harm, exploring the mysteries of New Whirl, and finding a way to escape. Naturally, you're going to do your part to become one of them, and Kaylee will join you in finding a way to get back to your own world. And the best way to beat a squirrel is to become a squirrel. As you've already seen, cassette players can transform people into the monsters on the island, and now to catch them is your real test, to train them is your cause. And that's your introduction to Cassette Beasts. Explore around the island, catch new monsters, meet new friends to travel with, and unearth the mysteries behind the interdimensional threat of horrifying godlike beings known only as archangels. Oh, yeah, I probably should have mentioned that earlier. God is trying to kill everyone on the island. Good luck! The world of Cassette Beasts is incredibly strange, and yet undeniably charming. You find partners along your journey, all with unique personalities and backstories you can discover as you adventure with them. Kaylee was part of an ancient cult worshipping a snake god. Meredith is trying to find a copy of NecoArc AI covers. Eugene is fighting a race of vampire-like landlords. Felix makes art and writes cringy fanfiction that somehow comes to life. Viola is searching for her lost brother from a Shakespeare story. And Barkley, well, Barkley is the best character in the game. Each character also levels up independently, but while you're adventuring with one, the others also level up at a slightly lower rate, so you're not punished for swapping friends. An incredible quality of life change to grinding is that when a character transforms, the monster they're using matches their character level. So you don't need to spend time grinding experience whenever you catch a cool new monster, it's already the same level as everything else. And you'll definitely want to level up those partners, as battles in Cassette Beasts are always doubles, the best format. At first glance, this might look like a pretty standard Pokemon-like, but you only need a few battles to figure out that Cassette Beasts is way crazier. Each turn you've got a few basic actions: fight, switch, item, flee, or record. A lot are pretty self-explanatory. Flee lets you run from a battle, although interestingly, if you're unable to escape, you can still choose to flee and just lose some resources instead, letting you get out of really bad situations or long battles you don't want to deal with at the moment. Just like in real life, throwing pennies at your opponent will always ensure an easy escape. Item lets you use a battle item, such as healing or removing status effects, and switch allows you to switch to another monster in your party, which you can have up to 6 of at any given time. Fight is of course the button you'll be pressing the most, and this is our first big departure from Pokemon. Each monster cassette has a few unique features: its type, maximum energy, and stickers. Stickers are your moves in this game. You'll get more as you buy them from shops or level up your cassettes, which you can do infinitely in order to continue farming those moves. However, you can add or remove stickers from any cassette as you please. Not every cassette can learn every move, but if I wanted to, I could move my Inflame sticker from my Pom Bomb to my Gumball, which is a move it might not have yet. This leads to some absolutely insane strategies, and is a fantastic way to help players customize their team way further than they would be able to otherwise. You also get way more than 4 moves in this game, and passives take up one of the sticker slots as well, so you've got quite the arsenal to work with. But why stop there? We can go even further. When you get a new sticker, it could be a higher rarity. Rarer stickers come with better abilities, like making moves hit additional times, deal more damage, or making their effects last longer. God, I wish I had that sticker in real life.
That's rough, buddy.
This encourages players to keep leveling up cassettes and buying new stickers, as you could just get a better version of one that you already have. Did you know that 99% of gamblers quit right before they're about to hit it big? Stickers also have a few unique features, namely their type and AP costs. Each turn in battle, your monsters will get a certain amount of action points, these little boxes that you see below their health. Each move requires a certain number of AP to use, and unused AP gets carried over between turns. This lets you decide if you want to use slightly stronger moves at the start of the battle, or use weak moves and save up for a huge attack later on, a super fun balancing act that's totally up to the player. This also means that you can't just Charizard it and click Flamethrower on everything that moves until he's out of PP. But don't worry, there's plenty of ways to break this game wide open, and we'll get to them later. Finally, let's talk about the record option. As long as you're in a one-party consent state, you can legally hold audio recordings of anyone at any time, meaning that you can blackmail your friends later when they... Oh wait, wrong script. The record button is this game's version of a Pokeball, but instead of a constant, frustrating balancing act of repeatedly skipping turns just hoping this godforsaken bird might stay in a fucking ball, recording has some super unique and fun mechanics. First things first, if one of your characters selects the record option, the other will still be able to battle, meaning that you can protect the one recording. This is important because while you record, you're stuck in human form, meaning all damage dealt to you will go directly to your character's health bar instead of your monster's. That's right, you, the person, can faint in this game. This red health bar is your character's health, and the green bar over top of it is your monster's. If your character's health is reduced to 0, you don't get to switch to a new monster, you're just down a teammate until you can heal again. This might sound like it makes the balancing act of catching something even worse. How do you keep the monster you're catching consistently low while keeping your character alive? Well, I have good news. You don't need to worry about accidentally knocking the monster out. While being recorded, monsters can't faint. They'll be stuck at 1 HP. Not only that, the chance of catching them goes up every time they're damaged, meaning that you can just wail on them until your recording succeeds, keeping them in a constant state of near-death agony. Also, the fact that you can actually see the odds of a recording succeeding is really nice. Finally, when a recording succeeds, it deals just a tiny amount of damage to the monster. If you kept it on low health while recording, this'll instantly end the battle, so you don't need to waste extra turns. I love this entire mechanic. Catching monsters feels so much more dynamic and interesting than in Pokemon. There's more risk, but it's also way more rewarding and easier to influence. Speaking of Pokemon, there sure are a lot of them, and no matter how many are hidden behind a DLC paywall for later, how could Cassette Beasts possibly compare? Well, the base game of Cassette Beasts has 129 total monsters, which is honestly pretty hefty. We got Bush Boy and Big Toy and Decoy and Alloy, Bug Gal and Good Pal and a guy that boosts morale. We've got a pumpkin with legs, a thing that lays eggs, and a nice little archer that likes to shoot pigs. A lady like Sink, your favorite kink, and I honestly think that she's doing lip sync. A guy with a spear, a dinosaur gear, a sentient sphere, a bird with a sneer, a strange-looking deer, a small profiteer, some glass that's not clear, my pain is severe, and we haven't even gotten to what's at the pier. It may not seem like much compared to the over 1,000 Pokemon we have now, but 129 is more than enough to keep you entertained and looking at new things the entire game, all of which have fantastic designs. Some may be disappointed by that number, so let me cheer you up a bit. I just lied to you. What would you say if I told you that there were way more than 129 monsters in this game? What if I told you it was more than 10 times that amount? What if I told you there were over 100 times more monsters? That's right, this indie game has more monsters than there are Pokemon. And it's not even close. Get that weak-ass 1,000 Pokemon out of here. Cassette Beasts has over 14,000 unique monsters. Well, kinda, at least. See, that was actually the second lie that I told you. My first was back when I said the last option in the fight menu was record. And you, might have noticed I wasn't very subtle.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
The true final option in battle is fuse. You build up your fusion meter by taking or dealing damage, and once it's full, you can fuse with your ally. And this is where those 14,000 monsters come from. Every monster can fuse with every monster, and it's fucking awesome. Combine a Ban Sheep and Fungo, Mushroom Sheep, Capri and Ouroboros, weird-looking snake. Or perhaps you want to push the limits of the universe itself. A Trafficrab with another Trafficrab. Oh my god, it's beautiful. Not only does every fusion have a unique sprite, fusing doubles your AP gain per turn and gives you access to the attacks of both monsters. If you're like me and locked in the eternal hell of being a forever DM, you might be familiar with a concept called the action economy. It's the idea that the team with more actions will almost always have an advantage over an opponent. So you might wonder why sacrificing one of your turns just to have a bigger monster would be worth it. But let me tell you, fusion stats are fucking insane. I guarantee you that fusing will almost always make you stronger rather than weaker. Plus, it looks really cool. It's also the only way to become dual type, because in this game, each monster only has one type. Oh, and speaking of types, let's go over the type chart. Now, you might be saying, okay, cool, so there are some different names for types, but at the end of the day, it's basically all Pokemon, right? Just swap out the names and you have the same idea. Wake the fuck up, dumbass! I told you this game was better than Pokemon. Fire types dealing double damage to grass types? Lame. In Cassette Beasts, there's no super effective hits. Everything does the same damage no matter what type you're attacking. Instead, type advantages cause a buff or debuff to happen. Use a fire type move on a plant type and it'll start burning up, dealing damage over time. Use an ice attack on a water monster and it'll freeze, becoming an ice type itself, but also being forced to skip its next turn. Use a lightning move on a ground type and you'll turn it into a glass type. But this is a two-way street, and you better be careful not to give your opponent a buff instead by using the wrong move. If a fire type hits an air type, you'll updraft them, giving them a wall that blocks the next two attacks. Or a metal type attack against a lightning monster, which makes all their attacks hit multiple targets. Or God forbid you use a poison attack into a ground monster, because it'll give them poison tips, dealing bonus contact damage every time you hit them or they hit you. This type system is awesome. It feels way more dynamic than just dealing double or half damage, and makes you really think about what status effects you should apply or avoid. Is it worth hitting that cosmic type with a fire move? You'll boost its AP generation, but if you knock it out this turn, then that won't matter. If I turn that ground type into a glass type, I can shatter it with my beast move, scattering glass shards so it's harder to melee attack. There are a ton of moves and interactions based around changing a monster's type, letting you play with these interactions all you want, and you can do some crazy shit with it. Make instant kill combos or completely take any control from your opponent by constantly switching types. It's super fun. But if you're looking at the type chart, you might be a little concerned about this type on the very end, the glitter type. It has reactions with every other type, so what gives? Well, my child, you've just discovered one of the funniest ways to fuck with your opponent in the entire game. Whenever a monster is hit by a glitter type attack, it turns into the glitter type. And whenever a glitter type is hit by any other type, it turns into that type. This leads to absolute chaos on the battlefield. Types turning into other types randomly, insane reactions and status effects piling up on each other. It's absolutely incredible. I just feel sorry for anyone who has to clean up after a fight like this. Picking up glitter is hard enough, but when it's coated in poison and fire, I imagine that's a little bit worse.
Oh, that's real nice.
But interestingly, if you scroll through the Cassette Beast's main Pokédex, you won't find any glitter types. Sure, you could use a move in battle and make something into a glitter type, but type coatings only last until the end of a battle, so you'll need to reapply it every fight, and that's kinda lame. And I don't blame you for thinking that. Except that you'd be wrong, and I made sure I didn't mention it until now because it's finally time to discuss my favorite mechanic in the entire game. It's no secret that I like shiny Pokemon. I spend a ton of free time hunting them, and I currently own over 400 unique shinies across multiple games. Something about my collector ape brain makes me just want those funny little palette swaps. Sure, they don't change anything, but they're fun to look at. But what if we went a step further? What if we made every monster have not just one shiny, but 14 unique shinies? And what if every single one of them did change something? Like, oh, I don't know, its type as well as the moves that it could use? Welcome, my friends, to bootlegs. Bootlegs are cassettes for unique monsters that you can find in the wild, indicated by a red name tag instead of the usual black. But far more importantly, they can be of any type. Notice I didn't say a different type. That's because you can actually find a bootleg of a monster in its normal type. You might wonder what the point of this is, but bootlegs have a higher chance of getting rare stickers and unique moves from their original, so it's actually just better to have a same type bootleg if you can find one. Not only that, but every bootleg has a unique color scheme reflecting their type. Even if it's the same type, it'll look slightly different. At first glance, this is a really cool spin on shinies, and they're super fun to collect. But once you start to really think on it, it becomes your entire life. You thought this game had customization before? Imagine how many possibilities you have now. Take, for example, one of my favorite monsters, Ouroboros, a defensive beast with great stats in everything except melee defense, and by default is an air type. But I want to optimize this monster, and I want to create the perfect tank. I want to make my friends cry when PvP finally comes out, and the best way to do that is with a bootleg. Now, the usual defensive types are Beast, which has no type weaknesses, or Astral, because it has type advantages against many of the most common attacking types. But what's best in my opinion is the Glass type. Glass types only have a few weaknesses, Beast and Metal, which cause glass shards to scatter about on the ground. These damage monsters when they melee attack, which is Ouroboros' lowest resistance, so punish them for doing exactly that. Meanwhile, you can slap them with powerful moves like Glass Cannon, which has a little bit of recoil damage that won't matter because you're such a tank. The only hole left in this strategy is Resonance, a status effect applied when a glass type is hit by an air type attack. If you have 3 Resonance, you'll instantly faint. That might sound like a crazy weakness until you look at Ouroboros' move pool, where you'll find air resistance. One of the many stickers this monster can get is the ability to completely negate resonance. Not to mention, it looks sick as hell. Glass type swaps the colors. Look how much you can think of. Look at how much you can do, and that's just one of 14 options for a single monster in the game. Cassette Beasts brings a whole new meaning to both customization and strategy, and I absolutely love it. If you want to grab this game, I highly recommend it, and it's only $20 on Steam. For a third of the price of a modern Pokemon game, you get something that I truly believe is not only more fun, but clearly has so much more heart put into it. The developers really care about this game, and it's obvious from just playing through it. The monsters are cool, the mechanics are fun, and you can give your favorite companion a little smooch. It took me just over 40 hours to 100% this game, and I had a blast the entire time. It should also be said that Cassette Beasts has become one of the under 2,000 games on Steam to achieve overwhelmingly positive, which is higher than a 95% positive review rate. If you won't take my word for it, take it from the other 3,600 people. There's so much to discover, and so much that I left out. I'm begging you to go play it. Let me know what your favorite bootleg is down below, and as always, I'll see you soon. You idiot. You fucking buffoon. You moron. You pile of ropes on a trash heap. Did you truly believe for a single second that I would end a video on a game called Cassette Beasts without talking about the music? Are you stupid? This game's soundtrack fucking rules. God damn, every single track just feels like an anime intro. It gives me goosebumps anytime I hear any of it. I don't know how Joel Bayless specifically engineered music for this game that's not only the exact genre I like, but also goes insanely hard and is a perfect fit for every fight. I am not joking when I say that every single track in Cassette Beasts is on my playlist. And not my video game playlist, I'm talking about my main, actual playlist that I put on for other people. The week after I finished the game, I only listened to these songs on repeat. I hummed them constantly. I drove people insane because I just walked around the house with these songs blaring. I cannot express to you how much I love this soundtrack. I'm not exaggerating even a little. This might be my favorite game soundtrack of all time. And you may be thinking to yourself, yeah, it goes pretty hard, but I wouldn't put it into my playlist, and I totally get that. Except that I haven't shown you the best part yet. See, the music plays normally during battles until you fuse, and once you do, that's when the lyrics kick in.
If you learn to loosen your mind, you never know what you might find. Round here, the bombs are smaller from the outside. Holes that they made will cave in. A dream of filling boots too big. In time, you'll see how brave that you need to be. Can't you feel what you're calling? It's endlessly falling, driving you here. Despite your repentance and best intentions, nothing to fear. You'll figure it out. Let's jump into the mix. It feels tectonic even here to share. Are you craving acceptance? Now your reception's finally here. You'll figure it out.
Guys, Shelby Harvey can fucking sing. Again, I don't know if this music will have the same effect on you, but it's exactly what I love listening to. The fact that I get to listen to it the entire time I play one of the best games in recent memory is icing on the cake. Not to mention that the game looks incredible. The overworld is absolutely beautiful, with leaves and wind blowing over open fields just adding to the relaxing vibe. The monster designs are fantastic, unique enough that nothing really feels like a retread of Pokemon, but familiar enough to invoke feelings of playing old games for the first time. And the characters all have so much personality to them. You can tell that a ton of love went into designing them, and this becomes even more apparent in the DLC. That's right, in the process of writing this script, the first DLC for Cassette Beasts dropped, Pure of the Unknown. a spooky new location, Brightside Pier, based on abandoned theme parks, and the addition of a character that ties Kaylee for second place. And she even knows it. Sorry fellas, even sexy goth clowns can't beat Barkley. Not only is it more content to explore with fantastic theming and interesting environments, it also adds an additional 12 monsters to the game, bringing the total number of fusions to almost 20,000. It's super short, only taking about an hour to finish, but I'll be honest, it's worth $7. The best way to describe the DLC is just more cassette beasts. And who wouldn't want more cassette beasts? The monsters are absolutely worth the price alone. The fact that the puzzles are actually pretty fun is just a sweet little bonus. You also get 4 sick boss fights to enjoy, and while the first 3 are pretty easy if you already beat the game and are at a high level like I was, they're still cool, and the last one is actually pretty even and really fun. Also, it adds a banger of a track to the heap of already good music. Too bad there's no vocals for this one. Oh well, it's still good. But where do we go next? Once you play this game to completion, what could there possibly be left to do? Well, just like all good creature catchers, Cassette Beasts has a pretty great post-game. Just because you've finished the main quest doesn't mean that the game is over. There are a handful of monsters that you can only get in the post-game, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Sure, you could finish the Pokédex or rematch all the Ranger captains in way more difficult fights, but there's also a variety of entirely new quest lines to unlock. These introduce some great characters like Frankie, as well as fleshing out the backstory of the island and explaining some of the craziness happening in New World. Like, oh, I don't know. Have you ever thought about what exactly fusion is? The questlines are pretty short, and in order to get all those nice shiny achievements, some significant grinding is required, but it still remains fun throughout, and once it's done, you can finally be done with Cassette Beasts, knowing you've enjoyed everything this game has to offer. After all, it's not like the game is multiplayer or anything. Not yet, that is. At the time of recording, we don't know when the multiplayer update for Cassette Beasts will release, but we do know that it's coming and it's going to be completely free. And I can't wait. I'll absolutely be playing through a new save with my friends that I've convinced to buy the game. And then I'm going to emotionally destroy them in PvP if it gets added, which I'm sure it will, but I don't know if it'll be with this update. I'm so excited to wander around New World and see what monsters they decide to pick up. What crazy strategies will they find that I haven't tried yet? It's so cool thinking about, and I'm going to make them cry when we fight. Good fucking luck, Zach. Aside from that, I really hope that we get more DLC. That might sound crazy, seeing as how I do nothing but complain when Pokemon makes a DLC, but Cassette Beasts has completely captured me. Or should I say, recorded me. Oh god, this script is getting too long. I got it in the video. Not only is it priced far more generously, the game just feels good. You can tell how much the developers care about it. And honestly, I'll just fill their pockets with money, and I'll smile while I do it. No matter what I say, I can't express to you how much I love this game. How much it truly touched my heart, both bringing back old treasured memories and creating entirely new ones at the same time. It's a game that I'll look back on for years, play regularly, and most importantly, listen to for the rest of my life. And I sincerely hope we see something half as good as it again. This game fucking rules, and I guarantee you it is worth every cent. In fact, it's worth more than that. It's worth double its price easily, not even a question. I want you to play it. You should go play it. And you should absolutely talk about it to your friends, because this game deserves to be famous. It's already gaining popularity, and I hope it takes off even more, because I love it. But also, you can't date Clements the bartender, making it the worst game in history. 0 out of 10. I'll see you soon.